You've done everything right, and you're still stuck. Why, you've journaled your heart out. You've prayed until your throat went dry. You've meditated, manifested, reprogrammed your thoughts. You whispered, "I trust the universe," even when your world was falling apart. And yet, nothing moves. No sign, no breakthrough, no shift. You stare at the sky with clenched fists and tired eyes, wondering, why isn't it working? But maybe the answer isn't in what you're doing, maybe it's in how you're being. Because here's the truth, no one tells you. You've been trying to force alignment with a clenched fist. And the universe doesn't respond to fists. It responds to surrender. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but grows in size." And while you've been repeating affirmations and envisioning a better future, your energy has been quietly whispering something else. I'm not enough. I don't have it. I'm scared. And the thing is, the universe doesn't listen to your words. It listens to your frequency, your inner tone, your emotional truth. That's why your effort hasn't blossomed into results. Not because you're lazy, not because you're broken, but because you're stuck in survival mode, gripping tightly to control, trying to force what was never yours to command. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. And when your entire identity is built on striving, fixing, chasing, life becomes a mirror of that very emptiness you're trying to outrun. But what if I told you this? The most powerful, life-altering move you can make right now is to stop. Stop grasping. Stop forcing. Stop trying to prove your worth, not out of fear, but from a place of sacred trust. Not because you've given up, but because you've finally woken up. Because here's the paradox. When the doing ends, the becoming begins. When the noise fades, the unconscious speaks. And when you finally stop interfering, healing begins. Your shadow begins to integrate. Your truth begins to surface, and reality starts to realign on its own. This isn't the death of effort. This is the birth of surrender. Not giving up, but giving in to something deeper, wiser, timeless. Let go, and watch what happens. Chapter 1. Stop chasing. You're blocking yourself. We've been sold a dangerous idea. That success is found in pursuit. That happiness is earned by exhaustion. That if you just run fast enough, push hard enough, suffer long enough, eventually what you want will come. But Carl Jung didn't teach us to chase dreams. He taught us to question them. He urged us to ask, why am I chasing this in the first place? Because sometimes what you think you want isn't actually what your soul is yearning for. It's just a bandage for a deeper wound. When you crave love so intensely it keeps you up at night. Is it really about love, or is it about the terror of being abandoned again? When you obsess over wealth, is it truly about freedom, or are you still trying to prove your worth to people who once made you feel small? Jung's gift wasn't motivation, it was revelation. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." If you don't examine your wounds, they'll end up making your choices, and you won't even know it. So you keep chasing things thinking they'll complete you, but life doesn't respond to your wish list. It responds to your vibration. And if that vibration is coming from a place of fear, lack, and disconnection, then no amount of success will ever satisfy you. You say, "I want love," but your energy whispers, "I don't deserve it." So the universe echoes back. You're right. This is why people burn out chasing relationships that leave them empty. Careers that drain the soul. validation that disappears the moment they get it. Not because their goals were wrong, but because the self behind those goals was still bleeding. And here's the hard truth. Even if you got everything you wanted right now, you wouldn't be able to hold it, because your hands are still trembling from wounds you haven't healed. Jung didn't come to help us manifest more from the ego. He came to help us integrate the soul, to stop chasing and start facing, to finally turn toward the part of you that's been silently screaming, "I'm not chasing success. I'm chasing wholeness." And maybe that's where your real journey begins. Before you ask the universe for more, ask yourself a quieter, harder question. What part of me still feels empty? Because if you don't ask it, life will, again and again. Through repeated delays, through doors that almost open, through people that almost love you, you'll keep running toward what was never meant for you, until you turn inward and finally see you were never chasing a thing, you were chasing a feeling. And once you heal the part of you that believes you're unworthy, you'll stop running after things that were never meant to stay, and start attracting what was always meant to find you. This isn't about quitting your goals, it's about cleansing your motives. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer begs the universe to deliver, because they've already become what they were seeking. You don't manifest from lack. You manifest from wholeness. And only when you return to your true self can the universe stop testing your ego and start trusting your soul. Chapter 2. The unconscious is always listening. Most people wake up believing they're being tested, that the universe is tossing challenges at them just to see how strong they are. But the truth is deeper, more personal, more unsettling. You're not being tested. You're being mirrored. Life doesn't respond to your affirmations. It doesn't care about your vision board or your perfectly curated Instagram posts about healing. It responds to your energy, to your unconscious identity, the silent belief system pulsing beneath your every thought, decision, and reaction. Carl Jung captured this truth when he said, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." In other words, stop looking for signs in the sky. Start reading the messages inside your own soul. Because if your unconscious is filled with fear, doubt, trauma, and unworthiness, you could write, "I am enough" in gold ink across every wall in your house, and it still wouldn't land. You can't lie to the unconscious. It hears everything. It remembers everything. And it runs the show. Even when you think you're in control. That tightness in your chest when you visualize your future. That nervous flutter when you speak your goals aloud. That's not intuition. That's your unconscious saying, "You don't really believe this is possible, do you?" So life delays the blessing, not to punish you, but because your vibration is still whispering, "I'm not ready to receive." So what do? We stop. We stop begging. We stop forcing. We stop painting over pain with thin layers of positivity. Because real power doesn't come from effort. It comes from presence. It comes from slowing down long enough to actually hear the whispers of your own psyche. When doubt surfaces, don't run. When fear knocks, don't numb it with another podcast or a productivity hack. Sit with it, decode it. Every fear is a message. Every hesitation is a signal. Your unconscious is always speaking. The question is, are you brave enough to listen? And here's the twist. When you finally stop interfering, when you stop trying to manipulate divine timing with human impatience, That's when the shift begins. That's when your energy softens. That's when your unconscious stops resisting. And that's when the universe whispers back, "Now you're ready." You are not here to chase alignment. You are here to become it. And becoming doesn't happen in the rush. It happens in the stillness. Chapter 3. Detachment isn't giving up. It's awakening. Let go. Not as an act of surrendering defeat, but as an act of awakening to something higher. I was never meant to control the world. I was meant to understand myself within it. Detachment has been misunderstood. It isn't apathy. It isn't pretending you don't care. It isn't numbing or denying desire. It's reclaiming your energy from the places it never belonged. It's the sacred moment when you look at your life and say, "I've done what I could. Now I release what I can't." Carl Jung understood this sacred art. Transformation doesn't happen when we obsess. It happens when we surrender. Not out of passivity, but out of deep inner trust. You can't fake detachment. You can't scroll Instagram saying, "I don't care anymore," while secretly checking your phone every 5 minutes for their name, for a message, for a sign. Because again, the unconscious doesn't listen to your words, it listens to your vibration. And if your vibration still says, "I need this to feel whole," then life will keep reflecting all the ways you feel incomplete. Detachment doesn't mean you stop wanting. It means you stop needing. It's the inner knowing that says, "Even if this never arrives, I am still enough." And here's the divine paradox. When your energy finally aligns with that truth, that's when everything begins to flow. Not because you forced it, but because you finally stopped resisting it. Life bends for those who are already whole, not those begging to be completed. So if you're in pain right now, if you feel stuck in that invisible web of waiting, of obsessing, of hoping something finally gives pause, not to distract yourself, not to escape it, but to ask a deeper question. What part of me still believes that this one thing will fix everything? That longing inside you for love, for validation, for success. It doesn't need fixing. It needs witnessing. Not by the world, not by your ex, not even by your parents. It needs to be witnessed by you. Because the moment you see yourself clearly, without judgment, without shame, without distortion, you stop searching for mirrors in other people. And you start becoming your own reflection. And that's when the real shift begins. No more chasing, no more begging, no more proving. Just being fully, unapologetically, powerfully you. Chapter 4. Allow the void. This is where real transformation happens. After you let go, after the grasping, the obsession, the spiritual effort, the prayers, something strange happens. Nothing. No sign, no reward, no breakthrough. You wake up. The world looks exactly the same. Your phone is still silent. Your heart still aches. The message hasn't come. The opportunity still hasn't arrived. And then a voice whispers inside you, was any of this even worth it? This right here. This is the moment that breaks most people. Because we've been conditioned to believe, if I let go, something good should immediately take its place. But the universe doesn't move on your calendar. It moves in energetic alignment. Before it gives you what you asked for, it asks one silent question: who have you become without it? And so here you are, in the void, a space that feels like nothing but holds everything. The in-between, the sacred silence, where your old self has died and your new self hasn't fully formed. It's terrifying. There's no map, no proof, no applause. Oh, just you your breath, and the deafening stillness asking you to trust something you can't yet see. Carl Jung called this space the creative void. He said, "In all chaos, there is a cosmos. In all disorder, a secret order." Translation: what looks like nothing happening on the outside is actually deep reorganization happening within. Your soul isn't on pause. It's under construction. Your unconscious is rewiring. Old trauma is loosening its grip. New beliefs are anchoring in. Your nervous system is learning how to hold the thing you used to chase. But here's the trap, because you can't see it happening. Your ego whispers, "This isn't working." And if you believe that lie, you'll sabotage your breakthrough. You'll start grasping again. And you'll block everything that was forming in the quiet. The void is not a punishment. It's a purification. It strips away every illusion, the need for outside approval, the addiction to results, the fantasy that control equals security, until all that's left is truth. And when you can sit in that truth, without distraction, without panic, that's when the universe listens, because energy never lies. You can vision board, you can chant affirmations, you can repeat mantras until you lose your voice. But if your energy still whispers, "I'm scared it won't happen," then life echoes back. You're not ready yet. The void is the moment when you're asked to embody the outcome before it arrives. Can you feel wealthy before the money lands? Can you feel loved before anyone shows up? Can you feel free before anything around you changes? Because if you can, you collapse time. You turn waiting into becoming. You turn stillness into magnetism. You become the frequency of your future. And life. It has no choice but to meet you there. But first, you must pass the test. The silence, the stillness, the terrifying gap where it feels like you're doing nothing, when in truth, you're becoming everything. So if you're in that void right now, hold your ground, don't grasp, don't fix. Don't panic, breathe, align, and listen. Because once you master this sacred stillness, once you stop needing proof and start radiating presence, life will get loud again. But this time, it will be singing your song. Chapter 5. Integrate. Don't obsess. Every desire you feel, it's not random. It's not a test. It's not the universe teasing you with almosts. It's a mirror, a message, a sacred invitation. Carl Jung understood this at a soul level. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Desire isn't just something you feel, it's something that reveals. It reveals where you're still fragmented, where you're still operating from fear instead of truth, where you're still outsourcing your worth instead of owning your wholeness. So the real question is never, how do I get what I want? It's, what is this desire trying to teach me about who I am? He taught that every desire is a signal, not from the world, but from within. Not to chase something out there, but to awaken something in here. You don't want money just to have money. You want to feel safe. You don't want a relationship just to be loved. You want to feel seen. You don't want success for the applause. You want to believe, maybe for the first time, that you're truly enough. Desire in its purest form is sacred. It's not the problem. The unconscious attachment beneath it is. And that is where most people get stuck. They obsess, they confuse yearning with action. They check their phone 20 times a day. They reread conversations like scripture. They overanalyze every delay, every silence, every shift in energy, and call it manifestation. But Carl Jung's work, especially the process of individuation, taught something radically different. The goal isn't to become perfect. It's to become whole. And wholeness doesn't come from obsessing over what you lack. It comes from integrating what you've disowned. Your light, your shadow, your strength, your insecurity, your rawest truths, even the parts of you you've been afraid to face. Because when you can hold both your power and your pain in the same breath, you stop needing life to fill you. You become full on your own. Let that land. You don't attract what you obsess over. You attract what you've made peace with. So the next time you feel that pull to chase, pause. Not out of laziness, but out of mastery. Take a breath. Close your eyes. Ask yourself, what part of me still believes this thing will complete me? Because when you remember, you are already whole, not missing, not broken, not behind. Something sacred happens. The obsession dissolves, and in its place, calm, clarity, true magnetism. You stop needing the world to validate you. And that's when the world changes. Because now your energy says, I already am. I already have. I already know. That's the difference between manifesting from desperation and magnetizing from alignment. So yes, you could keep reaching. You could keep watching the signs, or you could do the most radical thing of all. Sit still. Do nothing. Let life catch up to who you've already become. Because once the inner work is done, you don't need to chase. You don't even need to ask. You simply allow. You simply receive. You simply are. Chapter 6. The ego wants control. The soul wants peace. Let's be honest. That part of you that keeps refreshing the page. Checking your phone, rereading old conversations, watching the clock. Whispering, why hasn't it happened yet? That's not your higher self speaking. That's your ego, screaming in fear. The ego hates the unknown. It craves certainty. It clings to timelines. It needs the illusion of control to feel safe. And when it doesn't get it, it spirals. It catastrophizes. It floods your nervous system with panic, then calls it intuition. But that's not intuition. That's insecurity. That's unhealed fear dressed up in urgency. Carl Jung understood this inner conflict deeply. He didn't just study it, he lived it. He saw that the human experience is a constant tension between ego and soul. The ego demands proof. The soul whispers truth. The ego says, I have to control this so I don't get hurt again. The soul says, I've surrendered worse. Let's flow. Here's what most people never learn. The ego seeks outcomes. The soul seeks alignment. The ego says, I need to know how this will happen. The soul says, I trust that it will. Because the soul operates outside of time. It isn't chasing. It's remembering. Carl Jung once wrote, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And here's the plot twist. Who you truly are is not the version of you that's panicking. It's the version beneath all of that. The one that already feels whole. That version of you isn't scared of silence. It doesn't measure its worth in text replies, likes, or timelines. It breathes deeper, speaks slower, moves with grace, not urgency, because it knows everything meant for me will arrive, and it will arrive on time, divine time, not mine, but to access that version of you, You have to pause when panic rises. You have to interrupt the pattern and ask one simple, sacred question. Is this coming from my ego or from my essence? If it feels like pressure, anxiety, urgency, that's ego. If it feels like peace, surrender, and trust, that's soul. And no, this doesn't mean stop dreaming. It means dream from alignment, not from emptiness. It means move from love, not from fear. Because when your dreams are rooted in wholeness, you don't chase life. Life flows to you. It means stop clinging. Stop suffocating your manifestations with fear. Because desperation is loud. But alignment is silent. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It simply becomes. So if you're in a moment of doubt right now, don't add more noise. Don't drown yourself in distractions or shame. Close your eyes. Place a hand over your heart and ask, what would the healed version of me do right now? Then do that. Not because it guarantees the outcome, but because it anchors your truth. Remember, you're not here to control. You're here to co-create. And you can't co-create from panic. You must choose peace. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when there's no proof, even when your ego is screaming, it's not working. Because the moment you choose peace over pressure, that's when reality begins to soften, to shift. That's when you stop being just a passenger in your life and start becoming the architect. Peace is your compass. Follow it, and everything meant for you will follow you. Chapter 7. Shadow work is manifestation work. You cannot manifest a better life by only loving the pretty parts of yourself. You can't call in abundance while rejecting the version of you that's scared, ashamed, angry, or unsure. Because the universe doesn't just respond to your goals, it responds to your wholeness. And wholeness means facing the part of you you've spent your entire life running from. Carl Jung gave it a name, the shadow. Not evil, not darkness in the Hollywood sense, but the repressed self. The parts you hid to survive, the emotions you silenced, the rage you swallowed, the guilt you ignored, the fear you disguised as logic, the unworthiness you dressed up as ambition. Most people think manifestation is about scripting, visualizing, raising your vibration. But real manifestation, lasting, grounded, soul-aligned creation, doesn't come from fantasy, it comes from integration. Let's get honest. Every time you obsess over finding love, it's usually not about love. It's a wound whispering, if someone loves me, maybe I'll finally feel like I matter. Every time you hustle harder for money, it's not just about drive. It's a core fear saying, I'm not safe unless I have more. And here's the trap. If your manifestations are rooted in shadow, in lack, trauma, fear, or desperation, then what you create will reflect that. You'll attract a partner who mirrors your abandonment wound. You'll manifest money that slips through your fingers. You'll reach success and still feel empty. Why? Because you attracted it through a fragmented self. This is why Jung's work matters. He taught that we must bring the unconscious into consciousness. Because until you do, it runs your life. And you will call it fate. So the question isn't, how do I attract more? It's, what inside me still believes I'm not enough without it? That is where shadow work begins. And no, it's not easy. It's uncomfortable. It asks you to stop blaming the world and start looking inward. To stop saying it didn't happen because life is unfair, and start asking, was I even ready to hold it? It's not about shame. It's about ownership. It's about looking every part of yourself in the eye, the light and the dark, and saying, You're allowed to be here. You're allowed to exist. You're allowed to be seen. But you don't get to control me anymore. Because once your shadow is seen, it stops running the show. It no longer manipulates your decisions from the back row. It no longer creates chaos just to be acknowledged. You take your power back, and in that reclamation, your frequency changes. Your nervous system settles. Your energy shifts from hunger to harmony. You no longer manifest from fear. You magnetize from wholeness. This is not a fantasy. This is quantum alignment. This is emotional safety. This is spiritual maturity. This is you becoming the version of yourself who no longer needs the world to fix what your soul has already healed. You stop forcing. You start allowing. You stop proving. You start radiating. Because now, you're not asking the universe from a place of lack. You're embodying the truth that it's already done. And the universe has no choice but to agree. And that inner reality, that fierce, quiet, unapologetic truth living within you, is what bends the outer world. Not scripting, not vision boards, not chasing numbers or decoding signs, but integration, real, grounded, raw. This is the work, not the glitter-dusted, perfectly filtered Instagram version of spirituality, not the aesthetic rituals that look good in reels, but mean nothing in your nervous system. This is the sacred work, the kind that makes you stand in front of the mirror trembling and whisper, "I've been trying to manifest my future without ever making peace with my past. Not anymore." Now, you stop running. Now, you go inward. Now, you face the silent architect behind every repeated pattern in your life. And when you do, the illusion shatters. The power returns. The mirror shifts. And your external world begins to reflect your wholeness. Not your wounds. That is manifestation. That is individuation. That is freedom. Chapter 8. Don't become the blocker of your own destiny. This might be the hardest truth of all. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is you. Not your past. Not your trauma. Not even the universe. You. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, a man who mapped the soul with surgical precision, once said something chillingly true. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Terrifying, because true self-acceptance means turning on the lights in rooms you've kept locked for decades. It means meeting your guilt, facing your shame, holding your regret, and confronting the buried fear that whispers, "What if I'm not good enough no matter what I do?" So instead of going inward, you chase the world. You hunt for external proof. You seek someone to tell you you're worthy. You hustle for love. You grind for recognition. You manifest not from belief, but from a desperate need to escape yourself. But here's the brutal truth. Anything you chase to avoid yourself will eventually become the thing that avoids you. You think you're chasing your dream life, but really, you're avoiding the silence of who you are right now. And the universe, it's not punishing you, it's protecting you. Because it knows, if it gave you everything you asked for today, you wouldn't be able to hold it. Why? Because a part of you still doesn't believe you deserve it. And here's the deeper truth Jung pointed to. When you don't fully accept yourself, you become fragmented. Your conscious self says, "I want more." But your unconscious self whispers, "I'm not ready. I don't believe I'm enough." And so your energy becomes a contradiction, a tug of war between desire and disbelief, a magnetic field that pretends to attract, but quietly pushes everything away. You become the blocker of your own destiny. Not because you're weak, but because you're still operating from an outdated version of yourself. A version built in survival. A version formed in fear. A version shaped by rejection, shame, and old programming. A version that was taught, you have to earn love. You don't just receive it. And the tragedy. Most people will spend their entire lives chasing outcomes when what they actually need is to evolve their identity. You don't need to do more. You need to become more aligned with who you truly are. The version of you who doesn't chase, who doesn't strive from lack, who doesn't beg life to deliver, but instead radiates the frequency of wholeness. The version that knows deep down, I am worthy, I am ready, I am enough. Because here's the universal law no one talks about. You don't receive what you want. You receive what you are. And if you feel unworthy at the deepest level, even if your words say all the right things, you will unconsciously sabotage everything you touch. Not because you don't want it, but because your nervous system still believes it's not safe to hold it. So if things aren't moving right now, if you feel stuck or delayed, it's not because the universe is ignoring you. It's because your energy is still whispering, I'm not ready. And the universe, like a perfect mirror, keeps reflecting that back to you, not to shame you, but to awaken you. So stop blaming the world. Stop calling it bad luck. Stop twirling, why does nothing ever work out for me? And start asking, what part of me still believes I have to suffer before I receive? Because the moment you stop chasing the outcome and start evolving your self-concept, that's when everything shifts. Not instantly, not magically, but organically. From the inside out, the way real transformation always does. So hear this now, you are not stuck. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are being asked to rise, to grow into the version of yourself who doesn't just get what they want, but knows how to hold it, keep it, honor it, sustain it. Not for a moment, but for a lifetime. Because once that inner shift happens, you won't need to force manifestation. You'll become it. That's not magic. That's not luck. That's not law of attraction fluff. That's alignment. That's soul maturity. That's individuation. That's the power of full radical self-acceptance. And now we arrive at the final chapter. Final chapter, you're not manifesting. You're remembering. Let's end this journey with the deepest truth Carl Jung ever whispered between his teachings. A truth that doesn't just change your mindset. It restores your identity. You're not manifesting. You're remembering. All this time, you thought you were building something new. You thought you were attracting something outside of yourself. A dream partner. A thriving life. Peace. Abundance. So you did the work. Affirmations, visualizations, rituals, shadow work. Trying so hard to call something into being. But what if the real work was never about bringing something in, but uncovering what's always been there? Carl Jung's genius wasn't in helping people chase more. It was in reminding them they were never missing anything to begin with. That everything you were chasing was just a fragment of yourself. You abandoned along the way. Let this land. The version of you who already holds the love you crave exists, not in the future, but in your original blueprint. But somewhere along the journey, the noise got loud. The world taught you to chase to matter, to earn love, to perform to be accepted, to shrink to fit in. So, you forgot. You forgot your wholeness. You forgot your divinity. You forgot your natural alignment. You didn't lose your power. You lost your connection to it. And now, on the path of healing, awakening, and becoming, you're not building from scratch. You're not starting over. You're simply peeling away what's not you. The fear, the shame, the proving, the perfectionism, the overthinking, the old survival stories, all of it just static, drowning out the signal of your soul. Jung never gave us a system to fix ourselves, because he knew the sacred truth. You don't need to be fixed. You need to be revealed. Who you really are is not the anxious, overthinking, hypervigilant version you've come to identify with. That's the persona, a mask, a beautiful survival mechanism, built over years of emotional neglect and spiritual forgetfulness. But the real you is the witness, the soul underneath, the one who remembers silence, the one who doesn't chase because they already embody, the one who doesn't grasp because they already are. And here is the final sacred truth. When you stop grasping, when you stop scripting from fear, when you stop hustling for your worth, you return to your original frequency, the one you were born with, the one that never needed proof, only remembrance. That's why everything begins to align when you finally let go. Not because surrender is some kind of shortcut, but because surrender is your natural state. The state of trust, the state of being, the state where soul overrides ego, where energy overrides effort, where alignment replaces anxiety. So if you're still caught in the loop, trying to think your way into the future, trying to force the divine to meet your deadline, pause. Not because the universe is denying you, but because it's trying to remind you of something ancient you forgot. You were never here to beg for the life you want. You're here to remember it's already yours. The moment you become the version of you who can receive it, you are not late. You are not broken. You are not cursed. You are not manifesting. You are remembering. And now, you've remembered enough. Now it's time. Time to return to the stillness, to the trust, to the soul that already knows everything meant for me will arrive. Not when I chase it, but when I become it. And in that becoming, you don't chase. You don't strive. You align. You embody. You become. Welcome home. If even one line in this video cracked something open in you, don't scroll past it. Don't let this dissolve into your feed like everything else you half-watched and forgot. Because this wasn't just a video. This was a mirror, a message, a moment your soul aligned to find, not by accident, but by resonance. Carl Jung once said, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life." Maybe this video was one of those disguises, a reflection, a nudge, a checkpoint on your spiritual journey reminding you, you are not here to chase the world. You are here to return to yourself. So if you felt that shift, even for a second, comment below. I let go. I align. I receive. Not for attention, not for likes, but to declare it to your unconscious. That this time, you choose alignment over obsession, soul over survival, becoming over-begging. Hit like, not to feed the algorithm, but to anchor this truth into your nervous system, to whisper to your psyche. This moment mattered. I am different now. Subscribe if you're done with surface-level hacks and temporary motivation, and you're ready to dive into Jungian truths that reconstruct you from the inside out. This isn't a channel. This is a journey, a path for souls ready to remember. And above all, share this video with someone you love, someone stuck in the loop, someone chasing everything except themselves. Because Jung also said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens. This is your moment to awaken, to turn your attention inward, to stop seeking and start seeing. Because in a world addicted to more stillness is rebellion. Presence is power. And sometimes, doing nothing is the most courageous act of becoming. So breathe, feel, remember. You're not manifesting, you're remembering. And now you begin.